Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. The Squadron 42 monthly report has been released, highlighting all of the work on Squadron 42 in the month of March, so let's get stuck in. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members who allow me to make these kinds of videos. If you do enjoy my content and would like to support the channel even further from as little as $1 a month, it is all very much appreciated. The links are in the description below. So kicking off with the AI content team, they spent time working on the engineer NPC and further developing the on-foot security, tourist and tour guide activities. The bed bunks behaviour progressed with work towards better bed shutter usage and how to support bed sheets when characters are sleeping. Plus they kicked off defining the medic, illegal goods dealer, deck crew and janitor behaviours as well. Moving on to AI features, they completed the first pass on subcomponent targeting, which is now integrated and used in the main dev branch and will improve the behaviour initially for when small ships attack capital ships, allowing for more effective element targeting, complex attack patterns and tactics. Pilot security behaviour was restructured and extended, allowing security spaceships to validate illegal content inside ships. Obviously this will come across to the PU once it's hopefully established in the Squadron 42 campaign as well. It also allows the security pilot to request the target surrender and handle different players' behaviours. So basically the pilot will continue to request that the player surrenders during combat, allowing players to end the conflict and be arrested, which sounds pretty interesting. It seems as though the AI security will continuously request a surrender, giving you multiple opportunities to give up and not fight to the death. So they also work to allow AI pilots to correctly dock at any supported location, which is similar to landing, as it allows ships to get close to the collar and then perform a docking maneuver. The eating and drinking behaviour continued to be improved, particularly the chow line usage, which is the mess hall stuff that we've been hearing about each month. It says in addition to cleaning up the chow line and eating and drinking animations, they improved the drinking behaviour to make a cup a separate action. Plus, exit animations are now split between taking the tray and exiting tables, so that multiple actions can be performed. The surrender and cowering behaviour used by both trained and untrained agents progressed. This is used in hostile scenarios when NPCs are unable to fight back or are overwhelmed or don't have the tools for combat and prioritise preserving their lives instead. They have introduced several new subsumption logic tasks and supported the 3.13 release with bug fixes and optimization. We got to see this cool little short video of how an NPC will interact with subcomponents within a main component, so taking them out and inspecting them, which looks nice, plus how NPCs will locate and take the actual ammo from the ammo crate for the weapon that they're using. Moving on to AI tech, they progressed with EVA, creating tech to allow characters to calculate 3D paths and systemically transition out of ships and into space. Last year, code was introduced to allow the team to create a state machine that describes the mental state of an NPC that's preserved across multiple activities. For example, surviving in a zero-G environment requires the NPC to have a specific knowledge and handle requests differently from when on foot or piloting a ship. The team will utilise this to allow for a better structure and fewer transitions, and this groundwork will ultimately provide a better systemic transition into and out of zero-G environments. Improvements were made to the navigation links that describe the external linkage of navigation mesh triangles, so how the AI or NPCs will be able to move across the planet and environments and so on, and in doing this the navigation link component was simplified. They also began extending the melee system to improve definition of combo attacks. The goal here was to avoid using explicit mannequin transitions between states to reduce the complexity in the setup. And for the communication system, AI content fixed the auto creation of group channels based on the target of dialogue. This allows them to control who is allowed to talk to a specific target to avoid the overlapping when a group channel type is specified. And they also improved the system allowing communication context to override silence on a specific channel, which gives designers more granular control over the pacing of voice lines used by the AI to communicate readability of their actions. So a ton of work there going on for AI as always. Obviously, once the servers are a little bit more stable and the desync isn't much of a problem, we will actually get to see this in the verse, because right now they're a bit all over the place. Anyway, for animation teams, they spent part of the month on the engineer, deck crew, and Vanduul combat animation behavior sets. Progress was also made on the hurt condition state, AI hygiene, emergency reaction exits in usable planning, zero-G traversal, dodging, shopkeepers, guarding behaviours, players healing friends, looting, surrendering, mess halls and eateries, so a lot of work there. Also, a bug affecting wrist wobble that plagued the team for years was fixed, and the crossbow, cutter and tractor beam progressed through the pipeline. Very much looking forward to getting these tools, and dedicated tools and multi-tool tools as well. Lots of tools. Anyway, on the facial side, animations were polished for the next round of story characters. They also worked through a new chapter, and motion capture was solved for conditional deaths. Plus, planning was done for Quarter 2, which involved aligning with the needs of the PU and re-evaluating the process to streamline animation side development. For character art, the team started a significant concepting pass for an enemy faction, which will also inform how the character assets are approached for use in the Pyro system and in the PU. Work also continued on Treo's head, hair and her Basilisk advocacy uniform, with new shader tech developed for eyes and ears. For the cinematics team, they progress well on several large-scale cutaways involving several varieties of alien ships, including a Xi'an cargo ship and its captain, with the team saying that they finally have an almost final version of the Xi'an character, which is a refreshing sight because they've been using a weird, monstrous placeholder for the time being. But this sounds very interesting. Firstly, it sounds like they have almost finished modelling the Xi'an. Obviously, this is just one character, it isn't the full character, but with getting one in, that is the starting point, which is going to be epic to see when they finally do get integrated into the PU. But secondly, they talk about a scene with a Xi'an cargo ship, which is actually one of the remaining CitizenCon ships that we are yet to see, alongside the refinery ship. Now, I do wonder if we will see a new ship sail someday soon for a Xi'an cargo hauler. I wouldn't say no to one. I think it will be quite cool seeing this vertical cargo hauler ship flying around, so let's hope we get some insight in that soon. Anyway, finally for cinematics, another cutaway featured a unique vessel built out of other ships, which apparently looks menacing while still delivering easy readability for the player. No idea what these ships are, or whether we'll be able to fly them, buy them, own them, or steal them, but it could be to do with a pirate faction. It could be to do with the Vanduul. They do gather up materials to build their own stuff, but it could be this ship that flew past in one of the videos they showed. Who knows? Anyway, moving on to engineering, the team added physics support for multiple solar systems. A simple debug ray tracing framework was added to visualize the results of ray world intersection, or RWI checks. This has been hugely useful already, they say, and allowed the team to fix various bugs quickly, and has uncovered performance issues otherwise hidden. This isn't referring, by the way, to ray tracing lighting, it is a different thing. March saw various code optimizations, including the physicalization of planets, ray-bound intersections, and using octrees for ray occlusion tracing, plus the velocity limit of explosions and shockwaves was removed, and interior grids can now be saved to allow proper instancing. They continued working on the Gen12 renderer, such as porting emissive lights and object motion blur, and the shader parser was refactored in parts to allow for faster processing. Now, engineering made great progress with volumetric clouds, with tint support being added to allow more flexibility when colouring clouds for exotic planets. Cloud shaping was further improved to provide a better sense of local volume, while shadow refinement was added to further contribute to cloud detail. Very excited to see clouds, especially with this image of Crusader. It is going to be quite impressive. On the core engine side, more work was done on performance analysis and regression. The team are looking into replacing their current UI solution for post-mortem performance analysis based on captured performance telemetry data. And additionally, the threading logic was refactored to further improve performance, and the job system now utilizes specific APIs which were introduced in Windows 8.1 and Windows 10. Windows 7 still works but just won't benefit from this, but this will allow for much improved waking of jobs and preventing contention in the fiber system thread. They say that this is particularly noticeable on CPUs with a significant number of cores and will be rolled out in 3.13, so let's hope that this fix is actually really noticeable and gives us much better performance. Obviously, those with less cores or still using Windows 7 will probably not benefit from this as much or at all. So for the gameplay features team, they found some bottlenecks in a couple of systems, which when optimized will have a significant benefit and could help performance in general. The track view code is not multi-threaded either, so they're looking to convert that. The team supplied a new node to automatically locomote the player short distances and get them in the correct position at the start of a sequence to smooth out the initial transition. Work also begun on formation flying, which features an indicator highlighting where the player should go and gives the option to continue flying manually or automatically stay in formation, which is quite a nice addition. I will try and do it manually until I accidentally hit the other ships, and then I will just do it automatically, I think. For the gameplay story team, several animation sets were completed, allowing the team to begin updating scenes using the maintenance wall panels and mess hall tables. Also, great progress was made on a pair of complicated scenes from Chapter 11 that include player interaction, prop use, several different branches, and video comms from different characters and sources. So moving on to the graphics and visual effects programming teams, the render to texture system now has a fixed memory budget, which will now dynamically down-res the render to textures until they fit, which ensures stability in extreme scenarios, as previously they had no budget and will sometimes lead to out-of-memory issues. They also began planning for the transition to the Gen12 renderer to better understand when each milestone will be delivered to help determine the balance of staff working the transition, working features and bugs. And the visual effects programming team split time between bugs, fire, signed distance field shields and particle lighting. The fire feature, they say, is a long-term task with the current focus on fire spreading between rooms, light spawning and repair, and the particle lighting is a new model that gives higher quality and more consistent and physically plausible results. Very excited to see that. As well as just getting fire, all this work on fire sounds like it's coming along so well, and I just want to get that fire extinguisher and start putting them out. Anyway, for the level design team, the social design team are on course for the game-wide rollout of all granular scene setups and usable interactions. The level design team continued to work with artists and the FPS AI teams to add spaces to bring additional life to some of the bigger chapters in the game, and the space dogfighting team worked towards an internal milestone with all characters that include spaceflight benefiting from the initiative, but no mention of what the actual initiative or milestone will be. The narrative team continued with their in-depth reviews of the campaign, and along with it came some additional scripts to further polish the gameplay experience. The team also worked with character art to provide additional details for a group of outlaws that players will encounter, expanding on their unique look, and the goal is to give them a real sense of history and personality while fitting in with the Star Citizen universe. Additionally, the team provided write-ups on spacescaping for a sector explored early in the game, identifying billboards and signage that travelers will encounter. The QA team helped out the cinematics team for recordings of each level for review, and new features and content were tested for the development teams, plus they began testing the AI. Moving on to tech animation, the team spent time iterating on the in-house facial pipeline. They're aiming for a faster and more intuitive approach to the expression authoring for the complicated facial systems, part of which incorporates the smooth skinning decomposition technology from last month's R&D. They also completed the first round of rigging for the Xi'an character and are currently awaiting feedback and iteration from animation. For the UI team, they polished the user interface to support the new radar gameplay for vehicles and first-person modes, which include emissions, a scanning UI and updated ping. Work continued on the HUD for the Aegis Gladius, with the team focusing on missiles and improved contact display. Very much looking forward to seeing the new HUDs come along, not just for the Aegis Gladius, but for all of Aegis ships and all the other manufacturers as well. I think it'll be such a nice, refreshing change, but probably a little way off yet. And finally, the visual effects team continued to work on improvements to the gas cloud interiors, specifically using vehicle signed distance fields to simulate the look of tiny dust particles flowing over the surface of the ships. Now this will add to the scene of motion when flying, combined with the collision effects. This does sound pretty amazing. Seeing these tiny dust particles bouncing off the ship's hull as you fly through will look so nice. The team also worked on several miscellaneous effects, including new water effects for artists to place throughout a dank, grimy location, and some electrical effects as well. So that is the Squadron 42 monthly report. Lots of incredible work is continuing on, particularly in AI. It looks like they are really making progress fleshing the AI out and getting subsumption working, making the NPC characters far more believable. Also, it's great to see all the engine work that's going on, which of course will affect Squadron 42, but also the PU. But with that said, I will be covering the Persistent Universe monthly report as soon as possible, as well as addressing all the latest changes on the roadmap. We have a lot to get through and it is all very exciting stuff. So do consider hitting that subscribe button if you want to keep up with all of the latest Star Citizen news and information. Also, we will be talking more about this as well as playing 313 over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers Ryan. You are all more than welcome. The link is below. Tick that notification bell if you want to be notified when my videos go live, and hit that thumbs up if you don't mind. It does the channel a big favour. Also, a major thank you again to my patrons and channel members for your support. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.